Hello and welcome. 3.26 has been out for about a week now, and so I thought I'd show off what I've been doing in the Softcore Trade League. So I am playing a Smite Slayer, level 92 right now. I have two of my Void Stones, and I'm progressing through endgame mapping right now, and doing it pretty comfortably, I would say. So Smite Slayer, this is not really the meta way to play the skill, or at least one of the meta ways to play the skill. I'm using Iron Reflexes, I'm using Unwavering Stance, I'm using Replica Feral's Fur. Everything else, though, is very standard. So, it's the classic 4 points on Slayer, getting your Max Frenzy and Endurance charges. Ever since they changed Endurance charges, this became a crazy notable, as well as just the Leech and the more damage. Very, very standard Slayer setup, and this is not the meta version of Smite Slayer, as I've been saying, right? So what is the meta version? Well, right now with attack skills, what people do to scale the damage is there's lots of small conditions where you have a wheel of nodes that give extremely powerful damage if you can meet a very easy to meet condition. So let me give a practical example of this. This bleed wheel right here. So my build does not scale bleeds in any sort of way, but I'm taking this bleed wheel because this wheel gives 80% critical strike chance against bleeding enemies, 30% critical strike multiplier, and the mastery is another 80% critical strike chance against bleeding enemies. And this all takes 4 points. Compare that to a wheel like this, where you have to get 4 points still, and you're only getting 50% critical strike chance. You're still getting the same critical strike multiplier here, but that is just a ridiculous amount of power in terms of this wheel right here, especially because my critical strike chance on my weapon is not very good. So by having Assassin's Mark and by having these kind of conditional buffs, another great example is this fire wheel right here, where people will take it for this 100% increased damage with hits against ignited enemies. These kinds of conditional things, combined with rings like the Taming that gives 40% increased elemental damage per ailment you're applying on the enemy, combined with things like, I don't think it's called Secrets of Suffering, but maybe Yoke of Suffering, the amulet, that gives 10% increased damage per elemental ailment you're applying, as well as it gives you a chance to shock, but we don't really need to worry about that in this build because of Smite. But basically, what I've been describing to you is a kind of build that was played before too, in that it was Frostblade's Slayer, or not Slayer, sorry, Frostblade's Trickster, where it was the exact same sort of thing, Yoke of Suffering with the Taming, and you would just apply lots of elemental ailments. The elemental ailments would scale your damage a lot, and then you would use Heat Shiver and basically get double damage from that. So this, how a lot of people are playing this Smite skill is that exact same sort of layout, because it's just such a strong baseline, and combined with the nodes on the tree, it's just really, really good. Like, the numbers are extremely high. So as a result, lots of people are playing basically Slayer attack skills with that kind of multiple elemental ailment scaling, because it's just really, really good overall. But for me, I prefer my version because it's really hard to get endurance charge uptime. As the Slayer, you can get it on kill. You can get a chest modifier with the, I think it's Eater of Worlds, but I might have that wrong. But basically, you get one endurance charge every 15 seconds or something along those lines. And then people take this 100% increased charge duration, which is a really good node. I do think that that's very powerful. But for me, I just decided to go with the Replica Ferals because basically I now have permanent endurance charge uptime, and it's 28% Fizz and Ellie damage reduction. That's more powerful than Fortify, and I have Fortify, and then I have a bunch of armor from Iron Reflexes, so I do feel very tanky. I'm sure other versions of this build are also quite tanky because of the, Slayer nodes and because of having those endurance charges when they have them up. But I feel very, very tanky on this character. Feel like basically if something doesn't one-shot me, then it's not a problem because I just leech back to full by the time it hits me again. And because I have all this mitigation, I find that it rarely one-shots me. But that's just me been rambling about the build. I think it's pretty good. Let me show it off a bit. Whew, this one is crazy, guys. Do you think we can get this? This is a pretty crazy merc. Those triple suffixes. Hopefully you guys can see this. That's really not worth anything? That seems crazy. It doesn't have this crit multi, I guess. Or crit chance. I gotta go for it, though, I think. Let's see. Hopefully these shrines carry me. Let's go! Alright, so you've seen the build a bit in action. You saw I could take out that pretty spooky merc. You saw I could clear the map pretty efficiently. I mean, it's no Frostblade's coverage or any of those ranged attack skills, but it's still pretty good for a melee character, I think. But that has been the Smite Slayer of 3.26. Really enjoying the build, really enjoying playing Slayer in general. It feels great to go back to melee attacks. That's kind of, my staple attack builds in general. So, this is just extremely comfortable in terms of gameplay. I have no concerns about it continuing through endgame mapping. I think I'm probably going to end up spending money on keys more than I'm going to spend it on gear. Maybe I'll fall into some, I'll run into some road bumps against maybe Maven or against Uber Elder because I don't have Elemental Ailment immunity yet. But I also don't really feel like that's going to be a problem to overcome. So looking forward to it. Anyways, hope you guys are enjoying your builds as well in 3.26. Let me know what you're playing. And thank you for watching as always. Take care.